worse things you could do. There's worse things to follow.
Yeah.
There's worse YouTube channels to subscribe to.
I'm sure there are.
Mr. Beast. Just saying. I'm just kidding. Mr. Beast is actually all right. But I mean, like, do you subscribe? You either subscribe to Logan Paul or us. That's your choice.
Yeah.
So ball's in your court. That's it right there. But that's the short that's going to send us to the moon.
Yeah. Spot to find that. Yeah.
Welcome to the Iron Palace Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Iron Palace Podcast, the world's most anabolic podcast that makes your biceps twitch, your brain lift heavy, and your protein shake feel underdosed.
It's like, give them bitches independence. Bitches love independence.
Yeah, like whenever me and Keela were talking about after we bombed Iran, she said, "What does it mean?" I was like, "Not really anything."
Yeah. It means they don't have a nuclear facility now.
Yeah, she said, "Well, what about Russia?" I was like, well, "What about them? They are currently getting dog walked by people in the woods with sticks and AA battery drones."
Yeah.
Like, what are we afraid of?
Yeah. You know, that's the thing. Like, North Korea was going to send 10,000 troops to Iran. The same troops that Russia was sent them back was like, we can't use these guys. You know?
Did you see that Trump's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah.
Cracks me up.
Is it Pakistan?
Actually, I think it was Ukraine.
I thought it was somebody from Pakistan nominated.
I mean,
It's somewhere over there. Somewhere over.
I will say, everything tends to kind of calm down when he's in office, you know.
Everybody's scared of it.
Yeah.
That's what I said at the beginning. I said that from the beginning. I was like, whether you respect Trump as a person or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Homie is about that smoke.
He gets it done.
He doesn't say a
I
thing.
personally do not like him, but he gets it done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like personally. No, like I probably wouldn't get a cold one with him.
No.
But as far as I need someone in office to get something done,
Yeah.
I fully believe he's going to
If
do
I
it.
want somebody to be in charge of me, I want him to be like him.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like he said, "Hey, quit it, or I'm gonna hurt you." And then they said, "No, you won't."
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes. Think about it. And my favorite, whenever he says his quote of telling them, "This is not a threat. This is a countdown."
Yeah.
I was like, dude, it don't get more hard than that. Like,
And the thing is like, they're not going to call that bluff because he's not bluffing.
no,
That literally is. He was counting down.
golly, like that's as bad as the Secretary of Defense that said someone else will raise your children.
Yeah.
Like, golly, dude, dude, man, dude, like. Every time I'm like, this is why I served in the military. I am patriotic.
Yeah.
There's times I
You
don't.
got J.D. Vance blasting the AOC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got because they're calling for an impeachment. It's like, you joking? Are you joking?
Didn't he get voted down like 300 something to 50?
Well, they're voting him. They just started again over the bombing. They're pulling
I
for
thought this
impeachment.
was after the bombing.
Is it? I didn't see the vote if they did.
It might have been for something different I seen.
But yeah, they were pulling for it again because they said it was against his I did just blank on the word.
Congressional.
That's the word I was trying to say, but that's not the correct word.
Campaign?
No. Anyways, they're saying it was he was not allowed to do it. And I was like,
Oh.
yeah, he was, homie.
Yeah.
Like, for one, it's a fact that the El Presidente, no matter who they are, can send the Marines anywhere they want for 30 days.
Yeah.
And if I know anything about Marines, again, they're people I do not like. But
They get it done.
if you send any amount of Marines anywhere for a max of 30 days, dear God, man.
Well, I mean, like, we took over Iraq in how many days?
Like a week?
Yeah. So you give the Marines 30 days.
That's what I'm saying.
You'd have to stop them at just Iran.
Yep. And that's what,
You know?
yeah.
Across America, countless people can't access the health care they desperately need. At Remote Area Medical, we believe everyone deserves quality care. That's why we offer free dental, vision, and medical services at mobile pop-up clinics nationwide. Just compassionate care from volunteer professionals. Your tax-deductible donation makes these clinics possible, changing lives and creating healthier communities. Join us today in bringing essential health care to those in need at ramusa.org.
Invisible fence with shot collars.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I've been at one point. They,
I could see.
at one point, the Marines were not allowed off base in Japan. They were only allowed to be on base. Period.
Yeah.
And that was because they were doing things they shouldn't have been doing off base.
Yeah.
So Japan, as a country, said, "Can we not? Please, can you just leave them inside?
Yeah. Well,
Put your dogs up."
yeah. Well, you know, that's like I was watching a TikTok. It was one of the military TikToks, and this dude was talking about anytime that you send in the Marines somewhere, like in a conflict, and give them like free reign, like rules of engagement type stuff or whatever, they come back with a new nickname. And the first one, I don't remember the battle, but it was in World War I, and they were sent in, and it was they showed up, and it was the French and the British. They were fighting Germany, and they were getting their tails handed to them. The Marines showed up. The French are retreating, and they're like, "Hey, you guys need to retreat with us." And the guy that was in charge of that, whatever, platoon, regiment, whatever, was like, his words were, "We just got here." And so then they just went on. Everybody else backed out, and the Marines went on. That's when they ended up getting the nickname Devil Dogs.
Yeah.
Like, how cool of a nickname is that?
Especially when you don't give it to yourself.
And when the enemy gives it to you,
Yeah.
you know, like. And then World War II, the Japanese, I read this thing that was saying the Japanese were afraid of American soldiers, Marines in particular. And the rumor that went around the Japanese military was that the Marines ate their enemies. They would kill and eat them. I was like,
Yep.
How hardcore are you that, you know, other countries' armies think that about you, you know?
My only hope is that one day people tell stories of me that aren't true.
Yeah.
I don't care what they're about.
Yeah.
Caleb had a wide back.
Yeah.
See? One day somebody will say that. Like, he was probably 2 stories wide.
Yeah.
Like, you turned a 2-story building sideways. That was Caleb.
That was Caleb.
That's probably all my family, I think.
Well, you know, I don't know. Maybe somebody misheard us on the podcast, and
They think it's like a tiny to a tall guy thing.
yeah, and they're like, "Man, his back must be so
Yeah,
wide."
they're audio only listener, and they're like, "Dude must be freaking jacked." Every day's back day, bro.
Looks like the dude that ate Brian Shaw, you know.
Are you going to arm wrestle that dude that or Devin couldn't ever beat?
I don't know. I think so. I think he's training for it.
Yeah.
He's been doing a lot of arm wrestling stuff lately,
Yeah.
and I know he said a long time ago that whenever he retires, he's not retiring from strength sports. He's retiring from strongman.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a beast in arm.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh, 100%.
I saw a training video it was at his place, and he was arm wrestling some dude that was like I don't know, multi-time world champ or whatever. The guy was 380 pounds or something. He was massive. And so they're all lined up against each other, and the dude keeps telling Brian, he's like, "Listen, it's okay to go full speed. You know, go for it. You're not going to hurt him."
Yeah.
And Brian's like, "Okay, I got it." And the guy gets him lined up, and he's like, "Go!" And the guy beat him, and the guy was like, "Brian, you didn't go all out, did you?" And he was like, "Well, no. You know, Brian's afraid of hurting these people that he's arm wrestling."
I kind of get that, though. I mean, you're a 4-time World's Strongest Man winner. You're still over 400 pounds. You are still 6'9".
Yeah. Well, so they go again. The guy beats him again. And then the dude that's like coaching him or whatever was like, "Brian, freaking try." He's like, okay. Well, they go and just Brian just crushes him. I mean, like, it was crazy.
I don't know if it's just because I've been watching a lot of anime lately or just how my brain works, but in my head, that's like a One Punch Man moment where it's like, just do it. And it just, boom, the table explodes, like dudes through the wall.
Yeah, but the guy, I mean, the guy's probably thinking, I'm beating Brian Shaw, The third one they go, and he was like, you just see his face. He was like, like, oh no.
His shoulders dislocated.
Yeah.
See, I don't know that even if Brian Shaw let me win, or I don't know that I would ever like think that I beat Brian Shaw.
Yeah.
Like I would have something in my head saying, "Oh, it's an off day for him.
Yeah.
His pinky must hurt." Like
Yeah. Could you
Mercury's
imagine?
in retrograde. I don't know.
Could you imagine Brian if he was like mean?
Yeah. But to answer your question before we started this, I do not know what it would be like if Brian Shaw was mean.
Yeah, I mean, because like everything I've ever seen about him and everybody that I've ever talked to that's met him, he's as nice as he seems.
Yep.
And
Is there a guy that is that big that is mean? As a fellow larger person, taller person, I'm not that mean either. So like, is it just like a prerequisite that if you're over 6'5", you're just not allowed to be mean?
I don't know, because people used to talk about Shaq being mean.
I've always heard he's cool. I don't know.
Well, he's cool to like fans and stuff, but when he played ball,
Oh.
apparently he was kind of mean.
That checks out though. I mean, you kind of got to be that way.
Yeah, but yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know Eddie Hall, but he's not 6'5", but he's a big dude. Eddie Hall's got a mean streak.
Well, in the sport he competes in, he's kind of got little man syndrome, I guess.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
truthfully,
I wonder if he does any more because there's a lot of short.
yeah, there's smaller guys in there.
Again, shorter is a weird term to use for these people,
Right.
but when you compare him to the people that have been competing the past 10 plus years, they're a little shorter. I mean,
Yeah.
Mitch Hooper. That's like I mentioned it after the Arnold. Whenever I show people a picture of me and the mountain, they're like, "Oh, that guy's huge." I'm like, "Yeah." You want to see the guy that beat him? And then I show him Mitch Hooper. Like, yeah, he's big, but I mean, comparatively.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thor and Brian Shaw, those kind of guys, they aren't really human sized. I mean, technically they are because they're humans, but like people shouldn't be that big. Mitch Hooper is at least like human sized.
True.
Yeah, he's a big guy, but he's,
Yeah.
like if you're in like a basketball arena and he walked in the other side, it wouldn't like catch everybody's eye. Brian Shaw walks in, I don't care. People are noticing,
Yeah, because if I think like I compete in strongman, but maybe Brian Shaw is as big as he is, but doesn't compete in strongman, or the same goes for Mitch Hooper, and they walk into a room somewhere,
Yeah.
I would probably take notice and be like, that dude's huge.
Yeah.
As far as Brian Shaw goes, but I would know he could break me in half. Mitch Hooper, on the other hand, I'd probably look at and go, that dude definitely works out.
Right.
Probably wouldn't pay much attention though.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean,
Other than the mustache is pretty dope.
it is.
I've been trying to talk my wife into let me just do a mustache.
She won't.
No,
Oh,
it's a hard no every time.
Keela.
Not much chin hair.
Okay, for one, that's rude. I was not rude to you. It's too early in the episode to be hurting my feelings.
Well, Dave's not here. We're making up for it.
You don't have to.
I'm trying to get some engagement going there.
Some engagement. That's going to be our luck. Like whenever we finally take off and get engagement, it's just going to be a bunch of people talking about how I suck. I mean, it's fine. I'm a big boy.
Yeah.
Tell me how much you hate me.
But like, share, and subscribe first.
Yeah, just make sure you're subscribed. I'd hate for you to miss a chance to hate me.
Yeah. Well, that's
But you don't have to. Like, I'm pretty sure you just hate me because you haven't met me.
yeah.
I think I'm pretty cool.
He's a lovable guy.
Yeah, I'm lovely. So I hear in my head.
My mom says that I'm handsome, so.
She said I'm handsome too. Both your mom and my mom.
My mom has cataracts, so.
Don't you dare say that about Linda. Golly. All right, enough chitter chatter. Let's get at her.
All right.
So it's our 4th of July episode.
Yes.
And for the first time in a long time, Holland has all the material.
Yeah.
And we have material. So both of those are.
We have material, and I brought it.
Yeah. So
this
is new. Not new. We've done it before.
It's been since we were in the little room on the little couch since.
I remember the first time you brought a story, you brought in like
index cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
little tiny note cards. Just.
Well, this time I brought a notepad. I thought
it looks like
make fun of it.
Looks like more than one page of notes.
Well, yeah, a little more than a page. I just don't like reading from my phone, especially if especially if I'm taking notes and I'm just like writing, like I write a sentence to help me think of a paragraph, and then so I'm jumping around looking at stuff. I don't like it.
Oh, I do that.
I don't like it digitally.
I haven't tried this yet, but I really want to. Apparently, Kindle, not a sponsor, has a font that is to help with people with dyslexia.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know how that works, but I really want to try it because I bet I read real fast when I know what words look like.
Maybe you're like Percy Jackson.
I have a trident.
No. So, all the Olympians or all the demigods or whatever in Percy Jackson books, they were all diagnosed with dyslexia, but it was because they were wired to read ancient Greek.
I've never tried to read ancient Greek, so maybe that's it.
Maybe we should find you some ancient Greek, and you might be spot on with it.
I'll check that out. So basically, though, you think I might be a demigod?
You could be the son of, Poseidon.
Hades.
Dude, I'm too nice to be son of Hades. I am chiseled, shredded like a julienne salad.
I can't say anything because you did beat me in the bodybuilding contest.
Yep, trophies over here somewhere.
Yeah,
down there.
So that picnic thing that I had at work today, I ran into a bunch of people that I hadn't seen since before we had the contest, and they're like, "Oh, how'd it go? How'd it go?" And I had to tell a whole nother group of people that I'd lost.
And I wish you'd start inviting me to these things so I can tell people that I won. There's very few things I beat you in, so I can count them on one hand.
Yeah. But, it still hurts.
Still hurts.
He's not used to losing.
I hate it. I don't like it. Not one bit.
I contribute my winning to my wife's ruthlessness.
She was ruthless. Don't help the competition.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive into your material.
Yeah, so since the 4th is coming up, thought I would do a Revolutionary War themed thing.
I dig it. Just prerequisite. I don't know anything he's got. So
the only guy that you do know, I've got Peter Francisco. I've got him mentioned again. We did him on another podcast.
No, we talked about him. Golly. Just because Dave's not here don't mean you can let stuff like that fly, dude.
Hey, listen. This if we did, it'd be something to brag about because the guy's 6'6", 270.
Literally me 16 weeks ago.
But now you're all fragile.
Now I'm all sexy.
But, really, think about this. In the 1700s, Caleb would have been considered a giant.
To be fair, I kind of still am because I get it a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you are unnecessarily tall, but.
Unnecessarily?
Yeah. You're 6 foot unnecessary.
Yeah. I got no comeback for that.
But, yeah, Peter Francisco, we'll just lead with him since I brought him up. So, 6'6", 265, which is a monster in the 1700s,
I'm hoping you didn't add the 1700s part.
What was the average height for a male then? It was like 5'6", 5'7", wasn't it?
I think it was 5'6", because Napoleon, gets, made fun of or whatever for being short, but Napoleon was like average height for that time, which was like 5'6" or 5'7".
What a What a thing to have people spread about. Like whenever we talked about getting nicknames.
Yeah.
Like why? Like man, I'd be a little upset if that was it.
That's what he's known for, is being short.
That's what everyone.
And
But he wasn't.
He's an average height guy.
Yeah. Like I just picture him walking into a room and everybody goes, "I thought you were short." He's like, yeah. So does everybody apparently.
Yeah. That's why I'm so angry. Not because I am short, but because everybody thinks I am.
So then I go conquer your country, and then I show you I'm average height.
Yeah. But so he was one of his nicknames was the Virginian Hercules.
Pretty dope.
Yeah. During the Battle of Cowpens, the Continental Army was doing a retreat, and this cannon was stuck in the mud, and they were going to leave it. Well, our boy Peter sees it and was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to let the British have that." So he picks it up off of the carriage, throws it over his shoulder, and carries it away. Well, so the world's strongest man, or the strongest man in history, did a show on it. And Brian Shaw and all those guys attempted it. And, they managed to do it, but they are literally four of the strongest people in the world at the moment. And of course, they did a 300-pound cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the actual write-up of him doing it says that it was a 600-pound cannon, which seems a little far-fetched.
It does.
But so we know that the weight of the cannon was at least between 300 and 600 pounds.
I would lean towards the 3 just because in my own mind that seems doable.
It's hard to fathom 600 pounds.
Yeah.
On your shoulder.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a very small number of people that can even deadlift 600 pounds.
Right.
It's an even smaller number of people who can just pick it up off the ground, put it on their shoulder,
and carry it away during a battle.
Yeah.
Without it breaking your collarbone.
Yeah.
Move at any pace. Let's just assume he walked.
Yeah.
If I try to imagine him running with it, I'll cry.
And think about this. It was the battlefield and stuff was so muddy that it was stuck. So I mean, he's probably in ankle deep mud or more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, you're doing a banded 600-pound deadlift and then throwing it to shoulder.
Yeah. It's pretty insane.
It's almost,
Across America, countless people can't access the health care they desperately need. At Remote Area Medical, we believe everyone deserves quality care. That's why we offer free dental, vision, and medical services at mobile pop-up clinics nationwide. Just compassionate care from volunteer professionals. Your tax-deductible donation makes these clinics possible, changing lives and creating healthier communities. Join us today in bringing essential health care to those in need at ramusa.org.
it's almost like the cow we talked about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The
Mm-hmm.
Here we go again. I can picture it in my head because
Oh man, I'm gonna. Clint's gonna give me so much crap.
I can literally, I know there's a magazine named after it,
Yeah.
and I still can't picture it in my head.
While we're thinking of it,
Yeah, go ahead.
carrying the cannon off isn't the coolest thing in my mind that he did. So at one point during a battle, this was from an eyewitness report. He was shot in the thigh. He was wounded, and because of it, the British cavalry ended up circling him. They counted 11 soldiers around him, and they're all on horseback, and they just start seeing people get yanked down off of their horse, and then not coming back up, to the point where all of the rest of them rode off. They just retreated away from him. Like, he killed, I think, 9 of them. And the rest, there were like 20 or so that were in the area that saw this happening. They all retreated. Like, dude they were like, well, we're not getting near this guy. But could you imagine, like, you're a 5'6" Englishman used to fighting, like these regimented lines and everybody taking their turn and all this stuff. And all of a sudden you're against this freaking giant that's just yanking people down off of their horses and clubbing their head in. I mean, like,
I'd have been gone way sooner than they were.
right. Well, so after this, because of his injury, he's kind of out of the Army now, but he's acting as a spy.
Awful big to miss.
That's what I was about to say. How do you blend in like
Yeah,
that?
I'm not sure the details of the spycraft that he,
Because again, I'm 6'6". I was 270.
Yeah.
I will be again. But like I would get it all the time at work where I would make a joke about hiding and people would say, you can't hide.
Yeah.
So now put it back then when the average height is smaller.
Yeah.
There's literally no way.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he was hiding in plain sight. He was being obvious out there. I don't know. But while he's a civilian, 9 British officers come up to him, and he's wearing these shoes that have silver buckles, and they're treating him as a civilian, and they're like, "Hey, hand over your shoes. We want them because of the silver,
And again, if you look at this man, what
makes you think that you're going to be able to get them?
Yeah, I mean, whether or not you know who he is,
Yeah.
or he's a spy or not, the dude is 6'6", 270.
Yeah.
Who?
And he's probably all scarred up and stuff,
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, I picture him looking a lot like, the Hound from
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
exactly. Yes.
And you just walk up, yo, give me your shoes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, so he says, you can have them if you can take them from me. And dude pulls a pistol out and shoots him, but it just grazes his shoulder.
I respect that, though.
Yeah, right.
At least you're smart enough to know if I'm going to take a shot, I'm going to take a literal shot.
Yeah. So he grabs the guy that shot him, takes the pistol out of his hand, clubs him over the head with it. Well, this guy's out of the fight. Other dude's on the ground. Other dude that's standing there pulls a saber. He grabs the guy's arm, takes the saber from it, cuts his hand off. Yeah. With his own saber.
Then he smacks him with it.
Dude, all I'm picturing in my head is just like a dad taking a play sword from his kid.
Yeah.
Just quit hitting me with it.
Right. Yeah. And then one of the British guys was on a horse. So he yanks him off the horse, stabs him with the saber, takes his horse and rides off with it. And so now there's 2 guys. One of them's dead. One of them's possibly dead. The other one's bleeding out with a missing hand, and they've lost their horse.
Yeah, all because you wanted his shoes.
Yeah.
No, actually, I take that back. The buckles on his shoes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Just none of that makes sense to me.
No, but it's funny. Like as I was researching this, all these scenes from The Patriot keep popping up. Like there's a guy here in a little bit that I feel like they based most of Mel Gibson's character on,
I could see that.
and like the British guys wanting to take this guy's shoes. It made me think of the bad guy from The Patriot. Like that's something he would have done.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And so I was
Just to
like,
prove he could.
yeah, just yeah. That's
I
probably
want your shoes because I can have your shoes.
That's probably why they picked the biggest guy to do that to. Like we're the
And
British, we're superior.
It's like, I get the principle, but like in actuality, like,
They should have thought that through a little bit.
yeah, you just walk up.
To the most dangerous looking human they could have found.
Yeah. Like you just walk up. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Give me your shoes.
Blimey, I'll have them shoes.
Give me your cloggers, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, another thing that kind of stood out as I was researching some of these guys are all huge. Like this next dude, the guy that I think they based Mel Gibson off of, he's 6'2", right? And they said that he was 6'2" and what was the word they used? Sturdily built or something. But like, when the average height is 5'6", the 6'2" guy's huge.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the description sturdy?
Sturdy? I don't know.
I've never been called sturdy, and I don't really know that I want to.
You're more top heavy to me.
Okay, so
Well, it's because your legs are
Big
so
head.
skinny.
I mean, it's,
okay, for one, that again, Alan, that's rude. Didn't even let me get to make my counter joke there. So
like a lollipop on the end of a stick.
especially now.
really parried my attack there before I got there.
You gotta get it in before you get back to your normal weights.
Best
that's what
defense
she
is
said.
good offense.
Yeah.
But
Need a bigger shield.
so this guy's name is Daniel Morgan.
Okay.
Okay.
The name sounds familiar.
So Daniel Morgan originally fought for the British in the French and Indian War with Daniel Boone.
So did Mel Gibson's character.
Exactly. Yeah. He got kicked out of the British Army for punching an officer.
This is exactly okay. So yeah, so far this is exactly the Patriot.
He gets sentenced to 500 lashes with a whip,
It sounds like Outlander.
which is normally a death sentence. Like most people don't survive that.
Except for Jamie.
Yeah. And Daniel Morgan.
Yeah.
Daniel Morgan got his lashings and then was like, all right, I'm out. But now I'm going to forever hate the British, and they're going to really regret the fact that they didn't kill me. Because when the Revolutionary War pops off, he shows up to sign up. Well, they give him.
Picture him being the first person in line. Like
Yeah.
it's just like he's one of the conspiracy theorists that just popped up. Like the first wind of something starting, he's at the front gate. Just
He's like, hey, I heard there might be some killing involved.
you got any more of them Brits need?
Got any more of them British that I can kill? So, and in the meantime, though, between the French and Indian War and this popped off, he had been fighting Indians forever. Like he's been in the frontier countries, protecting settlements, doing all this kind of stuff. And another thing that it said that he had done was he spent a lot of that time drinking and fighting. There are multiple towns where he was arrested for fighting. But
This is probably one of the first stories that like I can follow the trajectory of how we are and how we got where we end up.
yeah, because I mean, like I was like, yeah, he's American for
Yeah.
sure, you know.
100%.
But
I just want to know how he ended up fighting for the British in the first place. But
yeah,
I think that was just kind of, which I mean, I guess back then you got recruited.
yeah, we were their colonies, and you know,
Yeah. You got, and it was, you
well,
can
and
own this land.
well, you know, and the French Indian War, you know, started because the French were enticing the Indians to attack the settlements, you know, the farther western settlement.
What a French thing to do.
Yeah, very French.
Friggin' French.
But
Speaking of which, I did hear that the French already surrendered in the Israel-Iran war. So that's that.
well, they lasted longer than I thought.
David would be disappointed.
Yeah.
Dave probably is disappointed wherever he is right now.
So they give him a regiment. They're like, oh well, you have military experience. You're going to be in charge of a regiment called Morgan's Riflemen, and he handpicked all of his guys. And everyone,
Is that where the Morgan rifle come from?
I think so, yes. Because so his requirement for all of them was that they were able to routinely be able to shoot and kill a man at 300 yards.
At that time is a
Yeah.
task.
I was about to say,
Well, at that time, the maximum effective yard killing distance of a musket, of a regular just Army issue musket, was 80 yards.
Yeah, that's
And-
impressive.
I was about to say, they didn't have rifling then, did
No.
they? It's
Yep.
just straight barrel.
No, these were rifled.
They were? Okay.
These were rifled. They're all like hunting rifles. You know, they're just everybody's squirrel gun or whatever. They're deer rifle.
Okay, but yeah, so it's not exactly a,
They're not military issue.
yeah, this is not a shooting for accuracy type thing outside of
Yeah.
hunting a deer in front
Yeah.
of me.
And he was one of the first guys to really develop the guerrilla warfare stuff, the hit and run and the harassing baggage, supply chains and stuff.
It really is the Patriot. I feel like you're just describing the movie to me and putting a different name on it.
All of his men were buckskins and carried tomahawks.
This is what I'm saying.
This is the Patriot. Like,
You're just quoting the movie to put a different name on it.
I mean, seriously, like they stole this from Daniel Morgan, and so among some of the things that he did was he invaded Canada
purpose?
Yeah, there was a British fort just across the border in Canada, and they were wanting to get locked in with the British, and those were the closest British. So they're like, yeah, we'll invade Canada.
Dude, I love that. He's just itching for a fight so bad that there's no reason to go to Canada other than
Yeah,
Fight.
they found
there's a fight there.
they found some Brits there. Yeah,
Where are you going? Going to pick a fight?
yeah. And so Daniel Morgan, and see his group, there were 96 of them, and
I think how many were in the Patriot? There wasn't 96, were there?
I don't remember.
I mean, it's just a movie, so maybe I'll only remember a few.
Yeah, yeah, the ones that had lines.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But so there were 96 of these guys, and they hooked up with Benedict Arnold, who at this time of the war was a rising star in the military. Yeah, before he got all jaded and then turned traitor. But so Benedict Arnold had 500 men. Daniel Morgan had 96, and then they ran into these guys, the Green Mountain Boys, which was just a militia in New Hampshire that had formed pre-war to protect New Hampshire settlements from encroachment from New York. And they just heard that there was going to be a fight, and they were like, we'll go.
That's
And
probably the coolest thing to ever come out of New Hampshire.
Yeah. And so, like, there were like 100 of these guys. So 100 of these dudes, and they're just regular militiamen. They're not trained military men at this point, you know.
They're literally just guys going to fight somebody.
They're just guys that they were like drinking buddies that had a club, and they're like, "Oh, you guys are going to go attack the British in Canada? Yeah, we'll go."
This reminds me of that joke. It's like the woman laying in bed thinking, "I bet he's out cheating on me," and it shows the boys, and they're just marching on to go whoop on the British.
Yeah, they're just dreaming of attacking the
Yeah.
British. So they get up there, and they get caught in a blizzard. And the main body of the troops, the actual trained body, Benedict Arnold's guys, don't make it to the fort. Daniel Morgan's 96. So there's 196 guys. They take over the fort. They overrun it, take over. They kick the British out. And so now they're holding the fort, but there's not that, there's only 190 of them or so. And they can't hold it. They don't have enough people to hold the fort, and the British are getting ready to do a counterattack, and then Benedict Arnold shows up in time to garrison the fort before the counterattack. So now we have their fort.
Is it in a strategically advantageous spot, or are we just
No, but it comes in handy later on.
okay?
But so Daniel Morgan was part of that, and another thing. And you're gonna say the Patriot again. At the Battle of Cowpens, he was the one that devised the plan to put militiamen out front, let them fire, and then retreat like they're running away. They go over the hill, and then the British chase them into the regular troops where they get cut down.
That is the Patriot, but isn't that the same battle that?
That Peter Francisco got the cannon from. So when the militiamen were retreating, he was like, I'm not going to leave them with this cannon. So he carries it back.
So very few times are there like more than one badass of history in one location at the same time.
Yeah.
They're usually kind of sprinkled about. But here in this case, we've got two people.
Yeah, they were there. Well, and if you want to count the Green Mountain Boys,
That's true.
they were there too. Like, no wonder the British lost.
Yeah, they lost because of too many cool people in history alive at the same time.
Yeah. And all running into each other. And
Yep. That's like all the other CrossFitters that competed at the same time as Rich Froning. They were really good, but you're just losing because he's here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's funny how all this ties in. So, the British later on, were laying siege to Boston, and Washington was needing guns. He was needing cannons and artillery. You know where the nearest cannons and artillery were? At Fort Saratoga in Canada. And it
Pretty
just so
dope.
happens that we own that fort now. So he sent Henry Knox.
From Knoxville.
That's how Knoxville got its name. Henry Knox and Fort Knox, all that's named after him. They were like, "Hey, we need guns bad." And he was like, "Well, there's some about 300 miles from here. I'll go get them."
That's a long way to just casually say, "I'll go get them."
Yeah, he goes and gets them, travels 300 miles to get them, 300 miles back, crosses 2 rivers, a bunch of frozen lakes, some swamps, the Berkshire Mountains,
Had to go through the Canada checkpoint.
does all of that 59 days.
That's a lot.
Up until then, it was considered the greatest feat of military logistics ever.
I would say that's
And
still
it may be, it's still up there.
because on horse. Was he by himself or did he travel with people?
That's 10 miles a day average.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in a car.
Carrying on the way back, carrying 120,000 pounds of cannons.
Okay, so people had to go with him. There's no way he did it by
Oh,
himself.
yeah.
But-
He took a group.
Which makes it more impressive the bigger the group is.
Yeah. I thought I might have wrote down how many, but I didn't. But,
That's insane.
yeah, 59 days. Got them back. And, of course, they managed to set them up and save Boston. But
Also, how slow were they moving?
well, so he started. They got word that the British were going to
Oh, okay.
siege. So they started before the siege actually happened.
Okay, I was about to say,
Yeah, the siege didn't last 60 days.
I was about to say, because that must have been a terrible siege
Oh,
if it
God.
lasted 59 days.
Yeah.
Especially considering usually the siege is beneficial to the people inside.
Yeah.
But 59, I guess it didn't happen, but either way,
Yeah.
59 days to go 300 miles and bring back all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, you're traveling 600 miles, though, round trip. 300 miles hauling the cannons, though.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
With a horse and wagon.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, at this point, the military is 2 years old. Like, it's not like these are seasoned military vets.
No.
These are like, I'm getting ready to talk about a guy. His profession, he was a tailor before the war started. Like these guys just had regular. Daniel Morgan was a wagoneer. He was a teamster. He just, before the French and Indian War popped off, and then he started. Then he became a war fighter. But like these guys, most of these guys were just regular people, and then the war started, and then they were like, "Oh wait, no, we're not regular."
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, because and anytime there's been a war come up, you hear a lot about just things changing to fit that. Like pinball machine companies started making bullets at one point for World War II and like different things like that. But those make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But whenever you talk about new country, new military, and guy literally was just driving a wagon.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah. Or a guy was sewing jackets and pants.
Yeah, he's in there measuring
Before.
inseams last week, and now he's over here shooting people.
Yeah. I can kind of see it a little more with Peter Francisco just because of his size and strength.
Yeah, you're shocked that you're more shocked that he's not a military person rather than he is.
Yeah. But talking about pinball machines making bullets, the guy that was a tailor, and check out this dude's name. It is Hercules Mulligan.
Do you think whenever like parents name their kids a name like that, they know that that's a name that's going to be remembered in
This
history?
guy's going to be, yeah.
Like, I don't know what for, but like, they're just holding this baby and they're like, Hercules Mulligan.
Yeah. People are going to remember that.
Yep, they're going to remember that.
But yeah, so Hercules, he started off, he was one of the original Sons of Liberty. They started kind of undermining British rule before anything was really formalized or whatever, And he just kind of rolled into being a spy. That's pretty much what he did the whole time, was spycraft. He what was the TV show about Washington and his spy network?
James Bond.
There's a show about it. I can't think of the name of the show, but he's one of the, like, he shows up in like
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
season 3 or something of it. But so he's just a tailor, and the battle, he's in New York, and the Battle of Golden Hill starts.
Also, who names the battles and wars?
I know, but he joins the militia then, and then him and some more militiamen go and they capture 4 British cannons and turn the tide of this battle. After that, they go and they're in the middle of the city is this big lead statue of King George, which they knock over, and then they use it to make bullets. They melt it down, and then they shoot the bullets back at the British. They're shooting the statue of King George back at them. I was like, that's pretty cool.
I wonder, whose idea was it? Like, they knock over the statue because obviously,
Yeah.
and then there's just one guy goes, "Wait,
Hear me out.
we need bullets.
Yeah.
Here's bullets.
Here's 1,000 pounds of lead.
Also, why would you make a statue of lead?
Well, lead's easy to work and it doesn't corrode. I don't know. Maybe at the time it's probably cheaper than doing it out of copper.
But it was so heavy.
Oh, it had to be. Yeah.
I'd pick it up.
Hercules knocked it over.
One arm.
But yeah, Hercules Mulligan. I was like, man, I got to include him just for the name alone.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what he did. He could have done nothing.
Yeah. But but you go and you're looking at this, Hercules was 6 foot. Daniel Morgan 6'2". Peter Francisco was 6'6". George Washington was over 6 foot. Like, it just seemed like at that time, everybody, all the Americans that signed up to fight were huge.
Just weird because, at that point, we've not been a country that long.
Yeah.
And we came from over there.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know when the size and culture difference, like hard size and culture difference happened.
That's what happens when you eat biscuits and gravy for breakfast versus
Praise
beans.
God, dude. I've been eating biscuits and gravy every morning since we've been off this cut. And I'm feeling good.
They eat beans for breakfast,
Yeah, and whatever kind of weird sausage they eat.
Yeah.
Two slices of tomato for a breakfast. Dude, that's beans for breakfast?
Yeah.
Dude, as God is my witness. Like, whenever I was in Japan, I ate some weird stuff. But if someone gave me beans for breakfast, like, we're fighting.
The first time that I experienced that was in Denmark, and they laid out this big breakfast buffet. And of course, a lot of the foods on it are, typical American breakfast foods. No biscuits and gravy, but they had bacon and eggs and sausage and, a lot of that stuff. But then they had beans and sliced tomatoes and, cold cuts of meat and little I'm not sure what kind of fish they were, like herring or something,
Japan's big on that. Like for the breakfast buffets we'd go to, it was like you just had like different cuts. It's almost like sashimi, but not. It's just like random cuts of fish. I was like,
yeah. Like, what kind of breakfast is this?
But France was like that whenever I was there. I stayed at 3 hotels while I was there. 2 of them, the breakfast was just 20 different types of bread and a bunch of different kind of jelly, and that was kind of and cheese, and that was the end of it. And then there was one that had the same stuff, but also had rolls of like ham, like Why is this the common breakfast to just eat bread, cheese, and jelly,
Yeah.
and then a random little roll of ham?
Yeah, it's so weird. Iceland was kind of like that too, but I had already experienced it, so it didn't stand out as weird. And they had more American style stuff like pancakes and but
I'm getting real hungry.
still had like cold cuts laid out and random cheeses and
Just why cold cuts though?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like to me, that's lunch. That's a sandwich.
Yeah,
I'm not just piling random cold cuts on my plate for breakfast. I don't know. It's weird. A cold breakfast is kind of odd. Breakfast food is supposed to be hot.
I agree, and I feel the same way about dinner. Like to me, lunch is the only meal that is acceptable cold.
Yeah, yeah.
A cold biscuit, honestly, like just like a sausage biscuit,
Oh well, yeah.
I could do that. I'd rather it be hot.
Mm-hmm.
Cold chicken biscuit sometimes slaps though.
Sausage biscuit with
Okay, you ruined it.
But see, oh yeah, you don't like tomato, do you?
No.
it's good on gravy.
Ew.
Oh god.
But yeah, but at least it involves a biscuit.
Yes.
And
And not a cold cut.
over there, biscuits or cookies.
No wonder they're so hateful.
Would you like a biscuit? And it's a
Scone is what they're.
yeah, like
Italian biscuit. No.
no wonder they lost. But yeah. So and I was going to talk. I mean, there's a lot of stuff about Washington.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think stands out about Washington, is the winter that they stayed at Valley Forge.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the worst winters that they'd had, that the colonists had been through since they've been in America. They were low on rations, supplies, pay. Like they'd gone, I don't know how long without receiving any kind of pay. Washington had to keep telling them, like, hey, it will get here eventually, along with shoes. Like these guys were boiling leather to eat at points, like they didn't have shoes. They were wrapping rags around their feet. And this is like, I mean, they're in, feet of snow and stuff, Typically though, when an army sets a winter camp, the generals go into whatever the nearest city is and commandeer a house or stay in a hotel or whatever. Washington stayed in Valley Forge the entire winter. He didn't leave. Now, he did stay in a little better shelter than the troops did. I mean, I'm not going to give, go all the way there. But a lot of them, I mean, because they spent the whole winter there, so a lot of them, they weren't just in tents. They had like built lean-tos and little whatever. So, but he never left. He stayed the entire winter with them. And like he had, wife and kids at home, and like people, like, the English, wherever they wintered, their generals were going to balls and fancy dinners and stuff. Washington is staying in Valley Forge, going through the same stuff. And every morning he'd get up and he'd walk through the camp before everybody was awake and, be seen. And he would stay out there with them all day. I was like, that right there says a lot about Washington,
Yeah, because anyone and everyone else literally would not do that.
No. And really, and that's the why. I mean, that's really the reason that the army stayed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
like 1,000 people died that winter in camp.
But
it was that bad. They lost 1,000 men to the freezing or disease or starvation, and they stayed.
What was the benefit of staying?
Well, so for one, they were like, if they let the army leave, because some of their conscriptions were up, so they really had no obligation to come back, and they're afraid that if they left, they were going to lose a big chunk of their army, because they're going to go home and be like, sitting at home with the wife is a lot better than getting shot at. And,
yeah, I can see that.
And another thing is, they this Prussian dude von
Liechtenstein.
von Stuber, von something.
A Gruber.
I want to butcher it without looking it up. Steuben, Baron von Steuben,
I was close.
showed up, and he was a Prussian general who came over, and he just showed up in Valley Forge. He's like, "Hey, I heard the army was here. I'm here to train them." Washington was like, I don't know you, you know? And he sat down and they talked like military strategy and history and stuff. And Washington was like, all right, this guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, train him. So just like in the Patriot, except it's a French dude that came and trained those guys during that winter camp. This was a Prussian dude that showed up. And at the end of it, at the end of the winter, because they still drilled and shot and all that stuff through the whole winter. Like that was considered the time when the Continental Army actually became a legit official army, was after Valley Forge. There's the trophy. Yeah.
I posed for that, you know.
That's hilarious.
The size is right. The proportions are wrong.
That's what I meant.
But yeah. So, I mean, like America was just kind of founded by a bunch of bad dudes. Well, even if you look at like Sam Adams, John Hancock, a lot of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, they were committing treason by doing that. You know, by signing that piece of paper, they were ensuring themselves a death sentence if we lost.
Across America, countless people can't access the health care they desperately need. At Remote Area Medical, we believe everyone deserves quality care. That's why we offer free dental, vision, and medical services at mobile pop-up clinics nationwide. Just compassionate care from volunteer professionals. Your tax-deductible donation makes these clinics possible, changing lives and creating healthier communities. Join us today in bringing essential health care to those in need at ramusa.org.
That's what I think a lot of it does, like over the years has been kind of watered down at what actually happened.
Yeah.
And because you think about it now, you commit treason now, what happens?
You go to trial, all this kind of stuff.
More than likely, you're going to end up,
and then they're going to execute you.
yeah, you're going to be unalived at some point, whether it be officially or unofficially, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what they did.
Yeah.
But against like a whole other country.
Yeah, and at the time, it was the largest, best equipped, and most well-trained military in the world.
Yep.
And these guys were like,
nah,
we can take them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, even though like they did a lot of cool stuff, but even though they may have not have carried a cannon off a field or beat up a guy or beat up 9 guys, cut off a guy's hand, but just either way, that's still pretty legit.
Yeah. I mean, and John Hancock stands out because, his name is huge on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was the first one to sign it. He was like, here. And he kind of because, some of those guys were a little hesitant to sign this piece
what I
of
was
paper.
just thinking.
As small as I can so they don't know who signed it.
Exactly.
Yep.
John Hancock was like, nah, I want to make sure they can read my name.
Yep. Which is just like the mental fortitude and the conviction behind that is nuts.
Yeah.
So like, this is what we're doing. There's literally no going back.
Yeah.
Like, there's no saying, just kidding, time out.
Yeah.
Didn't mean it. Like, that's over.
Yeah.
If we lose, that's over.
It's over. There's no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
There's no, you're done for.
Yep. 100%. And you're going to be one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Because, like, generally, if you're in the military, if you're just a random military guy, you stand a chance of just being put in prison or put to work somewhere.
Yeah.
But the guys especially the guys whose name are real big, No, you're out.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having that much dedication and conviction behind almost anything.
Yeah. But when people talk about, I guess we've earned it, but like there's a stereotype that Americans are arrogant. Think about the arrogance, there's got to be arrogance involved to think we can beat the British.
That's like me and my wife like to watch dating shows.
But then they did. So.
Yeah. Me and my wife like to watch dating shows or reality TV.
Yeah.
And yesterday we were watching one, and a question was asked: "Is what's something about you that could be perceived as a red flag, but it's something that you like about yourself?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, it's it's a good question, but I just highly doubt there's going to be a good answer. It's going to be like, oh, I'm just really muscular." No, but that was a
I'm
dude.
just so compassionate.
Yeah, I'm very, very modest.
Yeah.
But
I think the best thing about me is my modesty. I'm more modest than everybody.
I'm the modest person I know. But this guy said, he said that he thinks it's his confidence that can be misconstrued as arrogance.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I work really hard to look the way I do, to be as strong as I am. So my confidence can be misconstrued as arrogance. But really, I don't think I'm better than anybody, but I do know how good I am.
Yeah. Well, and
I was like, I actually really like that answer.
Yeah. Because, it's one thing to know your capabilities.
Yes.
Be aware of what you're capable of.
Yep.
And another to be arrogant. I don't know. Maybe that's the way you carry that or the way you act with it. I don't know. But, it's just like Larry Bird played a whole game left-handed. He's right-handed, He played an entire game left-handed, put up 40 or 41 points. Just to show them that they couldn't guard him, and I was like, that's kind of arrogant. But at the same time, though, Larry Bird at that time was the best basketball player.
That's what I was going to say. I think the line
on the court.
The line is drawn on the output.
Yeah.
Like if he had done that and floundered, arrogance. But doing that and proving the point he set out to prove, I'm saying that's confidence. I think it really, in my mind, arrogance is being too big for your britches.
Yeah.
But confidence is, I know what I'm capable of. I know what I like. Even if he had lost that game, but still put up those points, I'm still saying confidence.
Yeah.
Because total output doesn't matter, but his output matters.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, maybe that is why we're always perceived as arrogant, because maybe it's just that we have all the freedom that we have, that we're like, we can really shoot big.
Yeah.
And we do.
Well, and then at the same time, though, like, it's like, you see the T-shirts, the back-to-back World War champs, like, but we did win.
Exactly. It's not, it's not arrogant to say that we're a superpower, or, that's like, I watched the guy on TikTok yesterday. Like, social media is blowing up with everything that's been going on. Yeah. But this one guy, it's like, I did not comment. I almost did. He almost got me. But this guy said, we're talking about how we're getting launched into a war. We're going to lose again. And that was the end of the video. I was like, lose again? And then someone commented, saying, when did we lose? I was like, that's a question I want to know.
Are they counting Vietnam as a loss?
Do you?
I don't. Well, some people do. They try, they didn't
achieve what they.
Yeah.
I guess it's a loss, but
I guess it's a tactical loss. I don't know, but
either way, like, grand scheme of things.
But I don't really count it as a loss.
Because that's like, a lot of people are putting out all the facts about what's been going on. And like one guy said, we haven't fought a war on home soil in how long?
I guess since the Spanish-American War was the last one.
Like, we've had other stuff happen. Like, we've had terrorist stuff happen, like 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. But as far as actually fighting a war, So I'm like, when did we lose?
Yeah,
like, not being arrogant about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, it's like the movie Ford versus Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Ford takes him over the window, and he was like, "See those those factories there. During World War II, 300 out of every, what was it? It was like 300 out of every 500 airplanes that flew over Europe came out of that factory. You know, like, I mean, that's just facts.
That's what I was about to say.
Like,
that is factual.
yeah.
Boom. Look at that. It's a great time for ads then.
Let's do it. I got a shirt right here from Hosswear. Thick and free. It's very appropriate to the season. Go to hosswear.com and check out all their stuff. They got shirts that say thick and free, thick, power belly. They got a lot of cool shirts and hats, shorts. Go to hosswear.com and use code TIPP. Get a discount.
Stone smelling salts. Dave's usually here to do this one.
Yeah.
He's usually been partaking in these the whole time.
I think he's addicted.
I think so. I think we created a monster.
I believe we have.
Zone smelling salts. You need a little pick me up before a big lift or just a pick me up in the mornings. Go to zonesmellingsalt.com. I recommend the Bear Down Steel, but honestly, they've got a huge catalog and you can't go wrong. Yep. So check them out and use code TIPP. Get yourself a discount and help us out.
NutriFit. Well, I was trying to decide if I wanted to plug our stuff or NutriFit. And I was like, I'll give Caleb our stuff. He's got our merch on. So.
Oh, I do. I mean, I do, yeah.
Yeah. We don't have a NutriFit bottle around here. I'm shocked.
Oh, my gosh.
I know we do. But NutriFit has a wide variety of supplements and vitamins, pre-workouts, creatine. I mean, you name it almost. NutriFit has it. And they're high-quality product that we use here. That's how we got hooked up with NutriFit anyways. It was a company that we bought, that we frequented. But go to NutriFit.com and use code Caleb C Day, Caleb the letter C Day, and get a discount from them and help us out also.
And if you want some cool merch, got the podcast on it, like a hat. This is an old one. This one has faded a lot. We do have better ones now. However, if you want something cool like that, go to Etsy.com, search the Iron Palace Podcast or Daydream Designs. Golly. And then that will take you straight to our Etsy page and where you will find our catalog of stuff. And if you missed all that, the link is in the description. The link is also in the description for any of our affiliate codes where you can just click and follow it straight there. What's July?
The stone lifting.
Huh?
Have we? I was wondering I can't remember if we talked about the Stone Cold.
Oh, no. We were going to start that this week.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we talking about?
Because I was like, this will be the first episode in July, won't it?
This will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll make social media announcements about this leading up to it. But if you haven't seen those yet and you're just an avid listener, we are doing what we are calling Stone Cold July.
Yes.
Which is lift a stone every single day of July.
Yeah.
You've heard of Deadcember. You've heard of Squattober. But what you've never heard of is Stone Cold July, baby.
And that's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line.
And that's the bottom line.
So, yeah, any kind of stone lift, you stone to shoulder, to a stone load, lapping, overhead press, whatever. Do a stone load.
A stone throw.
A stone throw. Ooh,
Sure.
yeah.
List your weight. If
I
you're
like
doing a
that.
throw, list your distance
Yeah.
accurately.
Take a video, send it in.
Yep.
We'll end up picking maybe the best video or the best several videos, and there'll be something cool happen.
Yep. Our plan is to feature the cool ones. We'll pick so many a week, feature them on all of our social media, maybe even talk about them on podcast. So if you do a cool enough one.
Yeah.
All you got to do is, like you said, video it, put your weight. We don't need proof of the weight. We trust you.
Yeah.
Just put the weight of your stone.
I'm going to say mine is 7,000 pounds.
It's over 9,000. But coolest ones will get featured each week. But more importantly, I just want to see some cool stone lifts.
Yeah. Yeah, and if Allie Abs wants to include her Husafell lift, even though it wasn't in July, I will still accept that
I'll accept it.
because that was cool.
That was super cool.
And
And just saying she did listen to us on the way there is hype.
Yeah.
So,
Which kind of makes me feel like we helped.
yeah, in spirit.
Yep. Did you see the pictures she got back from that?
They're pretty dope.
Dude, they were awesome.
They were dope. That just makes me want to make sure I have a photographer of some capacity with me.
Yeah.
When I make it there.
I had Kent trying to take a picture with my phone, and he was like, I don't know how to work your phone. He's an iPhone guy. Mine's an Android, and man.
I would have just told him to use his phone then.
Yeah. I was like, just take it with your phone and send it to me. It'd probably be a better picture anyway. But
Yeah, Stone Cold July. And July 19th is the Women's East Coast Championship. We've already delivered the bags to the legendary Danny Webster.
yes.
And then September 27th is North Georgia. We've also already delivered those bags. So if you're competing in either one of those, all you got to do is come. If you're competing in the Sweet Corn Festival on July 19th, you better throw real far because first place is winning a bag there. And then if you're competing in North Georgia, you still need to throw real far, but not as far because in that one, top 3 are getting a bag.
And it's not just a bag; it's a bag full of some.
It's a
swag,
bag full of real cool stuff.
full of goodies.
We worked really hard to make sure this bag is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So love a follow out of that. At least one.
Yeah. If you get a bag and
Yeah.
follow us.
Why not?
Yeah.
Worst things you could do. There's worse things to follow.
Yeah.
There's worse YouTube channels to subscribe to.
I'm sure there are.
Mr. Beast. Just saying. I'm just kidding. Mr. Beast is actually all right. But I mean, like, do you subscribe? You either subscribe to Logan Paul or us. That's your choice.
Yeah.
So ball's in your court. That's it right there. But that's the short that's going to send us to the moon.
Yeah. Spot to find that. Yeah.